Let's go out to Brooke in Salt Lake City, Utah. What's up, Brooke?
Hi, doing good.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Doing all right?
A little nervous.
I was going to say, are you nervous? Listen, I'm not that good at this. There's nothing to be nervous about. I promise you're a better human than I am at radio. So, hey, what's up? How can I help?
So we have a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son, and some neighbors, 2 boys that are 7 and 4. And they were all over at the neighbor's house playing in the backyard when they weren't being supervised, I guess, and they exposed themselves to each other.
Okay. Was it just like I'll show you if you show me yours?
Yeah. So I think that's kind of how it started. I think the 7-year-old, I guess, because I wasn't there, I was home with our baby. We have a 1-year-old too. Okay. And
wow, you got a lot going on.
It's Utah, yeah.
I love a good Utah joke. Way to go, Brooke. That's the first Utah joke on the show, so well played. So you got 3, 5, and under?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So your 5-year-old's just playing with some neighborhood kids, and they end up in somebody's backyard, and there's a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old back there, 2 boys.
And my 3-year-old.
And you're, okay. And so, to the best you understand, how did that play out?
So, yes, so what we gathered was like the 7-year-old wanted everyone to just pull their pants down. And according to him, because we talked to our kids afterwards separately, and his dad said that according to him, they all just pulled their pants down. And then, but according to my daughter, my 5-year-old, she said that the boys did it, my 3-year-old and the 2 other boys, but she said no. And then when she was climbing up the slide ladder, the 7-year-old pulled her pants down. And, but then I'm not sure how, like, the timeline really works, but then when I got there, because I was just taking care of the baby for a little bit, and I was walking down there to just kind of join them. And when I got there, the 4-year-old neighbor boy and my daughter were hiding under a blanket, and I thought that they were just kind of teasing me, so I went over there and moved the blanket, and they were both there with their pants down, just sitting by each other.
Okay. Were they touching each other?
I don't think so. I mean, it kind of just all happened really fast. I think they were touching themselves. Okay. Was the 7-year-old around? The 7-year-old, he was in the sandbox with my 3-year-old. Okay. And he told his dad he was trying to tell them to stop. Okay. So I think he knew he was going to get in trouble for it, and he knew what was happening. Gotcha. I don't know if he was involved in that part at all. Okay. And as soon as my daughter saw me, she's normally pretty reserved. She doesn't really like it when she gets hurt or something, her reaction is to be on her own. So we kind of just give her space, in like a emotional situation, but like, the second she saw me, she just came into my arms and was crying, holding me and wanted to go home. And so, okay.
So what was, you obviously talked to these kids' dad, right?
Yeah.
How did that conversation go?
I mean, we talked a little bit. I think we could have talked more. Yeah. 'Cause I just got my kids home, and my husband and I were talking to my daughter. She wanted to be with dad, so he kind of talked to her and got her to kind of open up. She was really worried about talking to us, and so he, kind of gave her the confidence to tell us, whatever, that she was okay.
Good for him.
And yeah, he's a pretty good dad.
Yeah.
And then I, conversed with the neighbor over the phone, just kind of figuring out what his kids were telling him. But there really hasn't been like too much involvement from their side.
How long ago did this happen?
It's been a little while. So I guess I feel a little bit guilty about. It's been about a month.
Okay. I mean, don't go straight to guilt, okay? You've got a lot going on. So here's the big picture thing is this. 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds are curious, right? So I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to blow a gasket or anything like that, right? It sounds like y'all did a really great job of talking to her and both your kids, when you got them home, your son and your daughter, and talking to them. Just to kind of cut to the chase here, there's a great book called Some Parts Are Not for Sharing, and there's important conversations to have with 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds about really 4, 5, and 6, 3, 4, and 5 about, who's allowed to see you, which is mom and dad and the doctor, and that's it, always and forever, end of sentence, right? And unless, there's a grandparent that's doing some caretaking, and then there's a conversation that happens. And then once a kid gets to be 4 or 5, we're asking, can I come? Do you need help with, wiping? Do you need help in the shower? Not just bursting in and saying, hey, I want to begin to teach my kid that they have autonomy over their bodies at a really, really young age. But stepping back, the fact that this happened, I don't like that 7-year-old kid there. There's something about that whole thing. If you were to call me and say, hey, my neighborhood boy is a 4-year-old and my daughter's 4 or 5, and they were just standing there showing each other, that wouldn't make me raise my eyebrows. They're just kids. Having a 7-year-old there, potentially egging it on and knowing a little bit more and getting people to do things they didn't want to do, that's the part that I got a real problem with. So here's what I would do if I'm you. Number one, I would ask these kids' parents to come over to your house, so it's in your kingdom, for lack of better terms, right? It's on your turf, and let them know, hey, I don't feel comfortable with our kids playing with your kids, and I'm going to ask that you guys respect that boundary, okay? Regardless of how it happened, I'm not comfortable with it, and this is going to be a hard conversation, and it may make your street weird, but your allegiance isn't not to the neighbors down the street. Your allegiance is to your 2 little kids, okay?
Yeah.
The balance here is that your daughter's going to feel like she lost some friends and she did something bad.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And so it's a real careful, and that's why I love this book. You read it with them, and you're able to look. Somebody else wrote this, and I think it's with, I think Dr. Jennings told me it has turtles and fish or something. I mean, it steps away from the situation, right? And so it lets a kid see it happening. And because a 7-year-old was involved, because your daughter says, I think that boy pulled my pants down, I want them to understand at the age of 5 that if somebody puts their hands on me, if I'm assaulted, which is what that is, that mommy and daddy are going to stand up tall on my behalf.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is probably at least do 1 session with a play therapist in your local area, if not 2, and just say, hey, this happened. Can you help all of us with the touch conversation? Potentially get to the bottom of, is there anything super nefarious here? And then help give us some guidance as a third party with the whole family on how we can not let our kid know how serious this is, but not shame them in the process. And this is just going to be a delicate conversation. It sounds like, and again, you and I have known each other for like 3.5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
The fact that when she got home, she said, I want to talk to daddy. And that tells me you guys are great parents and that you guys have set up an environment where it's not a scary thing to talk to mom or dad. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think one thing that was kind of a little soul crushing, I guess, was as dad was trying to kind of just ease into the conversation, she told, which I don't know why, but she told him, that we're not going to love her. Mm. And so that's, I think, that is, I think that the advice you've given is really helpful, but I think that's like the biggest fear is I don't want to create some sort of, I feel like it can go bad two ways. Either, go play with the kids, and now it's mom and dad saying, hey, doesn't matter what people do to you, mom and dad give permission for anything to happen.
Sure.
Or like us, like I don't want her to think that like, if we see anything bad you do, then we don't love you.
Yeah. So I don't ever want to equate accountability and safety with I don't love you. In fact, I want you to teach your daughter the opposite of that. So I've said it on the show before, and my kids now, they're old enough, they roll their eyes. My kids are 11 and 5. And I've got a 5-year-old daughter, so I'm trying to think through this in real time with you, okay?
Yeah.
If I ask my parents, if I ask my kids, what's dad's one job? They roll their eyes and they're like, to keep us safe. And I've been telling them that since they were 0, okay? Precisely for these moments. Because something's going to come up multiple times over. And I'm going to tell my daughter, hey, a boy put his hands on you, and only mom and only dad and only the doctor are allowed to touch your bathing suit parts. And he did that, and that is not okay. What's my one job? And she'll go, keep me safe. And you'll say exactly. And mom and dad will not let you be around people that are going to hurt you or take advantage of you. And I want you to know that mom and dad went and talked to their daddy, because they should not be doing that either. And that's as complex as the conversation needs to be. But I want her to know that, yes, if somebody does something, mom and dad are there. When she's a child, especially. And she may interpret it like, oh man, I told mom this happened and now I can't have any fun. That's going to fall on you guys, right? So that there's not a gap, that now she's not just sitting in the backyard, drawing a circle with a stick. Or, maybe that's cool. My kids like to do that, so I don't know. That she doesn't feel punished, that she doesn't feel that she's in trouble as much as she's now knows that she is safe because mom and dad are on her side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's a thin, careful line to walk. And when you go to play therapy, play therapist, it's a blast. They have a blast. It's just a room full of all this chaos and fun. If you get a dud, it's not that great. The ones I've seen are really incredible. And kids speak in play, and so they talk that way. And so a good play therapist, after a session or two, will be able to tell you exactly what happened, or very close to what happened, and be able to walk alongside you guys. When she told you, this is my last question for you. When she told you, I'm afraid y'all aren't going to love me, what was the response?
That she said it to my husband, but we did talk about it together because he came with her to me as we all talked as a little family, and he told me that Reagan was concerned that she's concerned that we wouldn't love her, and he said that that's never the case, and so we just kind of had a little hug puddle and told her that we love her so much, and she's our very first baby, and we're always going to love her, and she's always our kid.
Awesome.
And just kind of milked just how much we love her.
And so you've created a platform for her, and she knows this, by the way. Tell her that every single day. Yeah. Make sure your husband tells her that every single day. Make sure that's a language you'll speak. But more importantly, make sure that you show her that every single day. Right? Especially with a 5-year-old. That's, if she's into it, that's a lot of hugs. That's a lot of eye contact. That's a lot of touching her on the face. Letting her know that she's safe. That she's of value and that you love her. And more importantly, that you will intervene. You will get involved. Okay. So grateful that you called. This is a super common thing. And so it's this fine line between, and there's so many variables too. It's a fine line between, oh no, and I don't ever want to steal curiosity. I want my kids to be curious about everything forever. I want to teach them that. And I don't want them to find themselves in a backyard with 2 or 3 boys being coerced into doing something she doesn't want to do. definitely don't want her climbing up on something and having some boy who's bigger and older than her take advantage of her. I don't want her in an unsafe situation where she's under a blanket with some other kid. And so it's that fine balance between I love you, that's not safe. Here is what safe is. And we're going to read this book together. We're going to go play with this cool doctor down the street. We're going to do these things, and I will go to the ends of the earth because I love you so much. And you can't go play with those boys anymore. Period. And you and your husband are going to demonstrate that by having a hard conversation with them too. All of this stuff adds an ethos in that home to my mom and dad got my back. Even when it's hard and messy and ugly and screwy and scary, they got my back. And I got a 5-year-old too. Ugh, having kids, man. Thank you so much for that call, Brooke.